a couple seconds and we're just letting people in. Excellent. Yeah, so as you're joining, you're on mute. I got that one. So we're going to give this a couple minutes to make sure we get as many people on as possible. So for people that just came on, we're just waiting a few more minutes to make sure we get everybody in that wants to be on the call. Hi, how you doing? We're going to start in a couple minutes for those that just jumped in. Estimated time is 6:05, which is like a minute from now. Just want to get as many people on as possible. Give it one more minute. Okay, we're going to get started. So I'd love to welcome everybody to our Zoom call to review the exciting partnership that we announced with Steel United the other day. Before we get started, just want to give you some quick introductions, who's on the call. I'm Frank Senna. I'm the president of the Watchung Hill Soccer Association. We've got Mark Loden, who is our current director of coaching. We have Hal Bellavin, who is the VP of our travel program. And we have John Cecatano, who's our head of college recruiting. From the Steel side, we have Dominic Rice. He's actually their team's director. And I've been working with Dom closely over the past few months to create this partnership. So we have a presentation. We are going to do Q&A, but just a couple points right up front. I mean, we didn't go into this partnership lightly. Given the significant changes that have occurred in the soccer landscape over the last 12 to 18 months, we started evaluating potential partners to see who would be the best fit. We looked at mission statements, core values, and most importantly, a player-first mindset. We also looked at geography and an overall partner platform. Steel was overwhelmingly the best fit and lined up perfectly sort of with our core values and our mission statement and the fact that they are, very focused on players. We are super excited about the partnership and the opportunities, and we think it's going to be great opportunities for our players, going forward. Second, I want to be very clear. This is not a merger. This is a partnership. WHSA will still continue to operate as a separate entity. It'll still have a separate board. It will still be a nonprofit. However, the partnership is going to be all-encompassing. There will be co-branding throughout the programs. There'll be integrated administrative functions. It will look and seem like it is an integrated club on one platform. And we think that's actually very, very advantageous to us. So we are going to do a presentation, but before we jump into that in the Q&A, and we're going to do specific Q&A towards the end, so I'd ask that you hold your questions till then. I wanted to let Dominic do a quick overview and introduction to Steel. So we're going to turn it over to him now, and then we'll jump back into the presentation.
Hi, everybody. So, as Frank said, my name is Dominic Rice, and I am the team's director of Steel United New Jersey, currently still New York, but soon to only be New Jersey. I've been with the company for approximately 5 years now, but just for everybody to give a brief overview of Steel United, in case you are unfamiliar of the club, Steel United are a national platform. They're a national organization. We're currently serving in 8 different states across the country and soon to be 9. Those states are Massachusetts, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, Washington, Virginia, Texas, California. We also have, within those 8 states, we do have 10 clubs. We have 2 clubs in Virginia and we have two clubs in California. Obviously, within a national platform, comes national staff, a national curriculum, and also a national program. And the national curriculum is passed down from our national staff. So those are the benefits that the club will be able to bring to Watchung Hills, as well as a mentoring system for our coaches, which is a professional development of evaluating self-reflection and just to make our coaches better to perform best on the field. I won't go too much into the national program, but that's the basic overview. We do currently have close to 3,000 players in our club currently, and is growing. We have been around. If just to give you a brief, maybe if you've heard of Steel and you think it's a new club, it actually isn't. It was formerly FC USA and rebranded as Steel because of we are part of Steel Sports, who are part of Steel Enterprises, and during the pandemic, we all just branded under the same Steel name, and that's about it as far as the overview of Steel United. Again, don't want to bore too much, but I think John's going to play just a brief video to kind of end and give a little bit more information as well.
So we can stop if anybody has any quick questions for Dominic. Obviously there's a lot to go on over the next year where we're going to be working on integration and getting everybody aligned and on the same page. There will be a number of pieces of information that get sent out throughout the year with more details, and but let's talk about the partnership a little bit. So we're going to jump into the presentation now, unless somebody has a specific question for Dominic. Nope. You have to unmute yourself if you do. Okay. So like we said, we are going to partner with Steel United, and we're going to become part of the Steel United family. That means, I said, full integration from a co-branding perspective, administrative integration, which is less as a player, less than the things that you see when you're on the field, but more the stuff that we deal with in the back. I mean, I think one of the things that's important here is, and John, flip to this next page. I think this is actually really important. That quick picture that you just saw, and you can kind of see it in the background, that is the soccer landscape that exists right now in our area. And we define our area, someplace or any place that's sort of within an hour away. And this was not the landscape when I got involved 12 years ago. There were 4 clubs like this. This doesn't even include all the different town clubs. So I think, I think it's important to recognize that, to run a successful program, and even any business, you have to be self-aware. And looking at how this landscape has changed over the last 18 months, we realize that we need to be part of something bigger. And we need to be part of something that has a platform and infrastructure to be able to offer the very best that we can to our players. And Steele has got it's an ideal fit. I mean, it is a perfect fit. We lined up the teams, we lined up the vision, the core values, and this is not a let's win at all costs kind of club. This is not a club that's overly charging excessive fees to their players. We are pretty aligned in terms of how we do things. And I think it's important that having a group that is full-time focused on soccer versus a board that is made up of volunteers that may not always be able to get to something in a timely fashion is critical with what's going on in the landscape right now. So next page, Jen. So as we said in the announcement, the travel and recreation programs will undergo minimal changes. United Soccer Academy has been an outstanding partner. They're going to continue to be a partner with us. They'll be continuing to run both of those programs with their coaching staff. Next. We will have our NJ Elite program, although this doesn't apply as much to the group on the call right now. We'll have the NJ Elite program in 23-24, and then those teams will transition to Steel United teams in the 24-25 season. So beginning with the 24-25 season, registration will change a little bit. We will be registering everybody in the Steel United registration system, which also ties directly to League Apps. So Team Snap will go away, but League Apps is a comparable system that does what we needed to do from that perspective, and it's actually integrated with the registration platform, making overall management of teams and player rosters much easier. So we're going to open this up to questions in a second, but we thought about some of the questions that people might have, and this is not in any particular order, but this is what's going to happen. We're WSA, and we should focus on the first two columns for this call. As you see, not much is changing in either year. I will tell you the 23-24 rosters are set. The field locations will be either Duderstadt, Cantor, Greenbrook, the high school, same as we expected. There's no change in costs. The teams are staying together. There's no tryouts going on right now. That's over. Coaching staff, I would say most coaches are going to remain the same from last year, but we're actually going through that analysis tonight to set up coaches for next year, but we're expecting a lot of the coaches to remain the same. There's no change from Mark's perspective in terms of a DOC. Leagues and tournaments will likely be the same. And there's probably not necessarily a national level opportunity this year, but there might be in the future. And the national opportunity is something we'll cover, in the future as we kind of go through the season. Going into 24-25, also not a big change, although we will have co-branded uniforms. So there will be another set of uniforms that will need to be bought next year. We will work with anyone who has any financial hardships or issues. We're thinking about how to make that as palatable as possible, given that we just bought uniforms this year. Unfortunately, Steel and WSA are on different uniform cycles. So everybody's on a 2-year cycle. The problem is we're on the first year of our new 2-year cycle, and Steel is on the last year of their current 2-year cycle. So there will be rebranded uniforms that we'll have to deal with next year. Costs will be the same open tryout. So the tryouts will be open as they have been in the past. Tryouts will be joint. So for 9v9 and older teams, they will be a combined set of tryouts. Our 7v7 teams will likely still just try out at Duderstadt and will be local. Coaches, don't know the answer to that yet for 24-25. We expect that a lot of the coaches will stay as coaching these teams, but depending on how many teams we have and what.
Quick question about the tryouts. Will they be separate tryouts?
So 9v9 and older will not be separate tryouts. They'll be integrated tryouts. We just don't know what location yet. The 7v7 teams will likely be just our regular tryouts because Steel doesn't really have 7v7 teams right now. So most of the Dom, correct me if I'm wrong. Their Steel United teams really kick in at 9v9 as well, just like our NJ Elite teams.
Correct. And I just to point out, and if people are wondering the location, that location would be Pingree. So just to give you the heads up, like it is not really far away for those teams that will be trying out. So just in case anybody was concerned about the location would be the Pingree High School in Baskin Ridge.
Yeah, right, so, and that was actually, I should have mentioned that because that was a pretty important item that we looked at when we decided to where are we geography-wise, right? We've got this great little corridor now of Duderstadt to Pingree, and Cantor, and even Greenbrook, right, in high school, where we've got a set of fields that are geographically close to each other.
Sorry, I guess I'm still struggling with, I guess, the denominator of the kids involved in the tryout, right? So I guess if Steel is a club that exists today, I believe they have relationships with other towns. I don't know that if that's true or not.
That is not the case.
It isn't the case.
No, we are going to be, and Don, correct me if I get anything wrong. They recruit everywhere, but we're the only town, at this current, time that is fully integrated in a club atmosphere with Steel.
So theoretically, I just want to make sure I get this. So theoretically, if let's say a 99 team, and let's just call the number 30 kids from Bridgewater show up, and they are better than any other kid from Watchung Hills. 15 kids, again, assuming a 15-person logic will be on the Steel team, and no, there won't be a Watchung Hills team?
No. There were going to be Watchung Hills teams. There will be an open tryout for everybody to go to at the same time. If there are a bunch of very, very good players, Steel United, not Steel WHSA, right, which will be our WHSA program, Steel United will build additional teams to handle or to deal with the influx of any additional players like that. There's still an expectation, and it's very likely. It's very similar to the way we have now. Right now, we have WHSA teams at 99, and we have NJ Elite teams. That's when they start. We'll still have WHSA teams that will be largely based on the 4 ascending districts in the town. And if we all of a sudden had an influx of 40 people that were really, really good, Steel United has a premier level and an elite level. They have 2 levels, so they would make multiple teams.
Okay.
Can I just jump in a little there, Frank, just to clear up the relationships with other towns? So, you mentioned Bridgewater. Yes, we prior had it was a relationship with Bridgewater where they and it wasn't a case of we had a relationship where they kind of like this as far as a partnership. It was more so they did not have a high school age program, and they encouraged their players to move on to Steel United. That relationship doesn't really exist anymore, just because we have not had a Bridgewater team or any players come over. So it's completely different in a sense. It wasn't really a partnership or, to this full extent. There is another club that we do run a rec program for, but that is Branchburg. And again, that is nothing like this at all. We are not taking any Branchburg players. It's kind of like we're the training organization that is helping with their rec program. So I just wanted to clear that up, and I wanted to be transparent about that.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think the way to think about this is what I've always said, and everybody's heard me say it in the past. But we want to have the right level of play for the players at the right time of their development. So if you think about the pyramid, we're going to have our rec program, we're going to have our WCA travel, teams on top of that, and then we're going to have Steel United teams instead of NJ Elite teams. Like NJ Elite will transition and the brand will sunset, and we'll have Steel United teams in a fully integrated platform so that we can all work together to make sure that we're getting everybody the right level of play at the right time in their development. Other questions? Because that is the end of the questions that I thought people would ask, and I think there's probably some follow-ups that people are going to ask around these, and then there might be other questions which we haven't anticipated, which if you want to ask, just make sure you unmute yourself and we can cover them.
I have a quick question for any of the programs that are really going to be managed by Steel. You said that the field is over at Pingree. Is there any indoor facilities, or is it just the outdoor Pingree field?
Dom, why don't you take that one?
Yeah. So all of our teams use Pingree's indoor facility for their winter training. So over at Pingree, they have 2 full-size basketball courts inside of their main building, but we typically will use their sports facility, which is right next to the stadium field, which has 4 basketball courts in there. It's a sports court surface. So yeah, we have basically first dibs on any use of Pingree, whether that be outdoor and indoor.
And just to be, Dom, correct me if I think I'm wrong, we're going to be evaluating whether or not we don't leverage that relationship to have, more training there than, how we're doing it kind of piecemeal on Sundays sometimes, in the middle school or, more outdoors. Although it's been so nice recently, I'm not sure outdoors isn't the way to go for some teams. But our younger teams, we'll talk to Dom and we're going to figure out whether or not we can leverage some of that, space as well.
Okay, yeah, that was my follow-up question. So Steel has an indoor facility. Right now, it's not quite determined if WHSA will be using that for the teams that aren't really going to be transitioning to Steel, like the elite teams, for example.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the answer.
And I would say both groups for their older teams we're outside both days, and I believe the Steel teams are outside one day, inside one day. So.
But I do think it's important to, this is a relationship in a sense that needs to be give and taken. If the Watchung Hills travel program is in need of use of an indoor facility, Pingree is absolutely an option for those teams to train over the winter period. So it's not just going to be the NJ elite teams that may get access to that. We have plenty of access to the Pingree facility, and it's a beautiful campus.
Right. It comes down to cost, it comes down to availability, and it comes down to schedules. And
I understand.
We have not tackled that yet.
Got it. Yeah, the potential's there, but you have a lot of things to figure out. I understand. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Other questions?
Sorry. I guess one more. I guess just more on the teams right now in your current setup. I guess for 9v9 and 11v11, do you have one team or two?
Don, I think that's
in most age buckets. Yeah.
It depends on age groups. For example, we typically at the younger ages of 2012, which is our youngest age we have, we're one team at 11s and 10s. And then when we head into the high school age teams, typically more on the boys' side, we do have two teams that, like this season, we had 205, 05, 04, 05 teams. We actually had three just because of the volume and good teams we had of those senior juniors because of the birth year. We had 106 team. We had an 06, 07. We had an 07. So we did have multiple teams in age groups, but more so in the high school ages. At the younger ages, we only had one.
Yeah, thank you.
Did that answer? Yeah.
Yep.
Hi. You mentioned the new app that we would have to use for scheduling and following through. And with the merger, I don't know if the rules change, or hopefully they would improve for how soon we're notified of some of the commitment to a game, a match or a tournament timing. I think myself personally found it very difficult this past year with some of the very late to last minute announcements of a game time when you're asked to hold an entire day open for something like that.
So Lisa, I totally appreciate that, and there's nothing that pisses me off more than finding out last minute, about scheduling. I will say two things. One, TeamSnap is the app for next year. So the 23-24 season, it's the same app. The 24-25 season, it'll be the new app, which I have personally used, and it's from a player perspective, it gives you everything you need. Now, from a scheduling perspective, it is complicated. What's going out there, given this landscape, is clubs don't have enough players at certain levels, at certain ages. Teams don't have enough facilities. So scheduling has become very, very difficult. And it's a noticeable change over the last 2 years. I will tell you, my guess is, based on this year, across the board, that 10 to 15% of the games didn't even get played. And another 10% were probably canceled or scheduled really, really late. It is with all these different entities trying to operate, to get fields, to get big facilities, to get commitment from their players and get people to show up, and then to get referees. It has become, unfortunately, later and later and later. It also is, the fact that we've got a lot of teams across, our teams are professionally trained. So we have to all work through schedules with them as well. I can totally appreciate your pain. I hope that will get better, but I don't think it's necessarily a function of TeamSnap or the coaches that were doing the scheduling. unfortunate. It is the nature of the beast right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, Hal, something? Hal wanted to add something.
Yeah.
Sorry, hold on. Go.
Yeah. So Lisa. Frank was saying too.
Sorry, somebody still has a lot of feedback.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
Is that better now, Lisa? Sorry about that. The thing I'd say too, just to point out, I mean, WHSA NJ Elite is always, as a club, gotten the scheduling done before the season starts. We do all our home games ahead of time. The thing that I'd say, and Frank was right on point, I'd say in the last couple of years, we've received more and more pushback every week from teams that want to cancel after we've actually submitted our schedule to the ref coordinators. So that's number one. I just want to point out. The second thing you mentioned about tournaments as well is that while I'd say a couple of years ago, tournaments used to be finalized 2 weeks before the games would actually be played, the tournaments themselves are not doing as good a job as they used to in terms of, solidifying the schedule, taking conflicts into consideration. We have multiple coaches, coaching multiple teams, and they schedule them at the same times now. And so when we see changes to that, and trust me, I see it as well with my own son, it's frustrating because the game times are always moving, and I feel the pain of always having to keep days open. So I just wanted to add those couple of things in there as well.
Thank you.
Other questions? For those that joined late, we're gonna try and we're videoing this, so we'll try and post it up to a YouTube channel so you'll have access to it. Other questions?
Can you go over one more time? You said Steel United has 2 levels. Can you explain the difference between the two?
So to the extent that they have a lot of players that want to play at a specific age group, they will potentially form, and I'm not trying to talk for Dom, but I feel like I've got the mic at this point. They will potentially form what they call as a premier level and an elite level. They don't necessarily have 2 levels at every age group. It really depends on the team or on the on the number of players. Dom, did I miss anything there?
No, I think Frank's right. We don't just form 2 teams just for the sake of it. If we have 2 teams in specific age groups, because the elite team plays at a pretty high level, and it's just trying to find the appropriate level for players to play. And just because it's tagged as a premier team doesn't mean that is a quote unquote low level team. It just means it plays at a more appropriate level than what the elite may play at.
I actually think that's an important distinction. So whereas there are a number of clubs out there that are forming C, D, and E teams even just to look at people as dollar signs, like Steel is not doing that. There's still a level of quality that has to be met for them to form, 2 teams at an age group. And and let's be honest, enough players need to be at that level to be able to form that second team. What's going on with a lot of clubs, and it disgusts me to a certain extent, is people are forming C and D teams that just to get more money and generate more revenue, and it's not even the best thing for those kids necessarily. So Steel doesn't do that. Next question.
I'm sorry, I just joined in, so I don't know if anybody asked this question or not. Is there any further expense? Like, for example, we just bought our uniforms for the next season and stuff. Are the uniforms going to change? Is there another?
So that question was asked. John, why don't you flip back one page for the people that can just see the questions that we thought about. So yes, we are on, unfortunately, we're not on the same 2-year cycle as Steel. So this is the first year of our new 2-year cycle. Steel is on the last year of its 2-year cycle. So come next year, uniforms, will we need to purchase again? We are working through, thoughts on how we can help mitigate the costs for people if necessary. We're still talking through that. We understand the issue. We had to pull the trigger though, and there was no way to ever line up the 2 teams, the 2 groups. So yeah, we'll have to purchase them again next year, and we'll work through that with individuals or the whole club.
All right, because you guys understand that the expense is quite.
We understand. Yeah, no, totally get it, and it's There was no good time to do it, right? Because we're not on the same cycle. Other questions? If not, Mark, do you have anything you want to add?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. If anybody has any other questions that come up, yeah, definitely feel free to reach out to any of us. Like I said, for those that missed this or joined late, we're going to post this online over the next week or so, and then yeah, let us know if you have any questions.
Actually, the only thing I will say is, and I know we've said it throughout the whole presentation, is again, there's not going to be many changes. The big benefit that our Watching those travel teams will get from this is we'll get access to the training and the curriculums and additional resources for our USA coaches to further their education, which in turn puts a better product on the field as well. So I'm very happy. I'm on to be smiling, but I'm very happy, and I've spoken to a lot of the trainers who are also in similar positions. They're excited for this extra education and these resources that Steel have to offer as well. So
the infrastructure that Steel has is really, really important, because the one thing that I think we do very well is we're organized, but we don't have the day-to-day people that are working full-time, building out infrastructure that you really need given the environment that's out there now. And to continue to run, with a bunch of volunteers trying to do this as, next to their day job, it just is not the way the market's going, and the landscape is not going to support that sort of thing. So we're ecstatic. We're very excited to be part of Steel and all the benefits that are going to come with it. And on that, I'm going to end the call.